So today I'm going to show you a full base of YSL, and here are all the base products I'll be showing you in this video, starting with their primer, their All Hours foundation and concealer, and then I'll be trying out their new finishing powders. I have the universal shade which I'll be trying around the eye area, and I've got shade 01 which I'll be trying all over my face. And when all my face is set, I will be using their new bronzers, and we can see what a full face of YSL really looks like together. Before I start the video, if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah, I'm 47, I'm not a professional, just somebody who really loves makeup, and here on my channel I love to share anything beauty related which I think might be of interest to you, any looks, any product news, anything at all like that. So if you think you'd be interested, I'd love it so much if you liked and subscribed below, and if in the comments section you just said hello, that would be so helpful to my channel too. And it's worth mentioning my skin. I have fair to light, mostly fair, with neutral undertones, and I have combination skin, mostly dry with a slightly oily T-zone. And I'm 47, so I have mature skin, so that might be helpful to you. So before I start with the makeup, just quickly I want to show you a new product I've been using for my hair. I like to just throw my hair up sometimes and not always straighten and style it. I just want a quick look, get out the door and be done, especially when wash day is looming. And I like to just throw it up either in a bun or a ponytail. But if, like me, you end up with a bun like this, you really don't like the finished look. So I have been looking for a scruffy bun, or a way to get my hair naturally to form into a scruffy bun, and I haven't had much luck. That was until I was contacted by this company called Irresistible Me, and they've kindly sent me this scruffy bun, which is a hair attachment which I can actually clip straight onto my bun. Honestly, it's so easy and so comfortable to wear. So I just wanted to very quickly show you this. You've actually seen me wearing this in one of my videos before because I really do like it. So you can choose the hair colour, they've got a good range. These are all vegan, by the way. And it comes with this net here which you literally just clip over. Now you see here there's clips inside which can be clipped directly into the hair as you put it around. And then when you have it in place, you just pull on this to tighten up. It is so simple. So all I have to do is pop the net over my natural bun, slide the grippers into place, and then just tighten it up. And that's it, it's done. I can just move it round and shape it however I like, or I can just leave it as it sits. That is it. How simple is that, honestly? I don't need to worry about trying to style or produce a big fluffy bun because my hair is quite fine and I really struggle to do it. So I've really enjoyed this. I think it's just such a quick and easy way to get a look that you can feel quite fabulous with. Now the hair colour of this is not quite a match because I've recently changed my hair, so don't let that put you off because there's a huge range of shades and you can get it to be a very precise match. And mine was actually a precise match, and I did actually do a video of this in my shorts, so if you look through my shorts you'll see me wearing this with a slightly better match hair colour because I've put a slightly more coppery tone hair colour in recently, so it's slightly different because this is ash blonde and my hair colour at the moment is blonde with a little bit of copper mixed in. But anyway, I still think it works well with it. I'd still wear it. And also they've given me a discount code for you. You can get 10% off this with code IM-HAN, and you'll find that code below with a link to buy this, and it costs £36. They've also got lots of other products like long ponytails and all sorts of things. So this is something new for me, but I really like it. Anyway, let's get on to the makeup. So when it comes to YSL, in all honesty, I started buying products from them last year for the very first time, and the first thing I bought was the eyeshadow quads because that's what called out to me. I didn't get anything else like the foundations. And then they released their bronzer, and after struggling a bit with the lightest shade, I realised how much I love it when I got the next shade up, and I decided maybe I need to explore YSL a bit more and not just buy the odd product. So I've gone all in and I have got their foundation, their concealer and their primer because I'd really love to see what the full base can give. And I've added to that their finishing powder, which is just launched alongside the bronzer. So this is going to show you exactly how these all sit together. So I've heard a lot of good things about the YSL foundation and concealer, so I'm very excited to try it. Whether I've got the colour match right is another matter, but we shall see. So I'll be starting with this primer. You can see the packaging and the product itself is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so this is called the Touche Éclat Blur Primer, and I'm just going to apologise now for butchering that because I know I've said it wrong, so please accept my apologies. And it says on the website you can get a seamless complexion by using this primer. It says that it evens your skin tone and it blurs out fine lines. And it says that this shimmer fleck gel in here uses an advanced blurring technology to create an instantly radiant and flawless canvas. So here is how the primer looks. It's just a thick sort of gel. If I rub it out on the back of my hand to give you a sort of close-up of how it looks, it feels really nice actually. There's nothing to see there really, is there? You can see a difference. This is the blurred primer hand and this is the non-blurred primer hand. Does one look more smooth than the other? Maybe. It has that sort of feeling, if you know the Pore Professional primer, it has that sort of feeling, but lovely smell actually. It's got that sort of YSL perfume smell. So if you don't like scents, you wouldn't like this one. Really nice, I like it. Yeah, it feels, it's not quite as thick as the Pore Professional. Very hydrating feel. Lovely actually, really nice. It'd be great if this does work, because it's just so nice. It's just a nice experience using it. The scent plus the feel on the skin, it's lovely. I hope I haven't added too much now because I was enjoying it a bit too much then. So I've put 2 pumps. I think I probably should have stuck with 1 and take it down my neck a bit. So that's how my face looks with the primer on. I don't think things look terribly blurred out if I'm being honest. I've seen better blurring effects from other products. Let's see how my makeup sits on top of it because that's the real test, isn't it? So here is the All Hours Luminous Matte Foundation. This contains SPF 39, seems quite strange, 39, but anyway, it's quite a lot of SPF really. And I've got mine in the shade LN1, which is very light, so we'll see if it's too light. And I got mine from the Look Fantastic website. Look Fantastic do seem to stock a lot of YSL products, so I have linked everything below for you. I don't have a discount code, I'm afraid, because the YSL brand does not accept my discount code for Look Fantastic, but they do seem to have a good range generally of the bronzers and finishing powders, everything. So it's a good place to check if you want to get any of the latest and the full range basically. So there's 34 shades of this on their website at the moment, so it's quite a comprehensive shade. And they do have quite a few other light neutral shades, so I've gone for the lightest. So I don't know if I've gone a little bit too mad with the light there, so we'll see. And like with their bronzer, this is also infused with skincare. This has hyaluronic acid in it, and it says that it's a feather light formula. You see how it's running down my hand there, so it is definitely quite a runny, not a thick, dense foundation. It says it's actually 77% skincare, so I think this might be a good match actually. The reason I went for the lightest is because when I looked at the pictures, shades 3, 4, 5 in light neutral, I think it went up to 5, they look really dark. So even though they're called light, I wouldn't actually think they are, to be honest. And if you see this, this is actually quite, this is darker than my skin tone. This is the lightest one. It is slightly yellowy, so it's a little bit warm. Anyway, I think it'll work quite well for me. As it's settling down on my skin, it definitely is fitting with my skin tone actually. You can see that it's changed as it's been absorbed. Not offered a lot of coverage, but then I haven't put much on my brush. I've just got that 1 pump on the back of my hand which I'm dipping into with my brush. This is my BK Beauty 101 foundation brush. Let's see if it can cover up the red on my nose. It seems to have done that quite nicely. Like with the primer, it's got a very strong perfumey smell. You can really smell it on the brush. So you've got to like this fragrance because it's a real perfumey fragrance. So this is giving me light to medium coverage. It's definitely, I wouldn't say it's quite reaching the medium level, it's in the middle. Maybe it is reaching medium actually now looking at this cheek. definitely changes, you know, as you apply this, because you don't see the coverage straight away and you also see more yellow, and it's definitely going back into more of a natural shade on me. So try to build some up here to cover this area, which I like to cover. Yeah, it's definitely buildable actually, so yeah, it probably is medium coverage in fairness. Now this actually describes itself as a full coverage, so I think built up it probably is coming medium to full. I have seen more full coverage from other foundations, so I wouldn't put it on the high end of full, but it is getting there now. So one pump gives you light to medium and 2 pumps takes you medium to full, which is quite good really, because that makes it quite versatile, doesn't it? So this is how it's looking with the 2 pumps. It's definitely not caking into my difficult areas. It's not particularly emphasising texture. I think maybe the combination of this with the primer has worked quite well at blurring out, because texture, which is normally quite exaggerated here in pores, are quite blurred actually, which, considering I haven't started with the powder, is not bad. They haven't gone, but they are a bit blurred, definitely. I don't know when I look now if it does look a bit yellow. It'll be interesting to see how this looks to you on camera. It does seem a bit yellow where I've built it up. Just gonna have to see. I don't know if this is really, it seems a bit warm for a neutral to me. If anyone's tried this, I'd love to hear which, it's obviously been out for a while, which shade has suited you the best, because I'm not convinced this is a true neutral for me. Anyway, onto their concealer, and I've gone for LN1 again with this concealer. So here is the bottle. It's got lovely packaging. I love the way they add the symbol as a sort of embossed thing on top, really pretty. Exactly the same as their foundation bottle. And this dough foot is quite different. Firstly, it's huge, it's a really big sponge, and it's got this sort of triangular tip. Interesting to try this. It will probably apply quite a lot of product. Now the colour on this looks fine by me, because it looks like it's going to have colour correcting properties. I'll put some, you can see my eyelid. I'll just do one eye actually to start, so you can see the effect. Quite purple eyelids at the moment. And using my A506 from BK Beauty, the Angie Hot and Flashy. Let's see how I get on with this. And this is also supposed to give me full coverage. That is absorbed extremely easily, especially for full coverage. Wow. I barely even touched that. I like that, because that suggests it's not going to be settling into lines and caking up. I often find with concealers it takes me quite a long time to work the product into this area where the skin is so thin. So yeah, very nice to apply. Again, it's got the perfumey smell. It's not quite as strong as the foundation scent, but it's still there, so keep that in mind. But I do have quite sensitive eyes, and I'm not noting any smarting. I'm very, very impressed with the way my skin has absorbed this. It's gone on very nicely. Considering this is full coverage and matte, it has absorbed quite like a serum concealer, and I tend to go for the serum concealers, which are less coverage, mainly because of the way my skin absorbs them. My mature skin absorbs them better. If it wasn't for me doing this test for this video, I wouldn't have bought this based on the fact that it's matte and it's full coverage. That's worked really well. So if you compare, you see my eyelid covered and not covered. It hasn't completely got rid of it though, so I don't know about the full coverage. And then you've got the under eye, which I haven't done, and then the one I have. I think this shade is perfect for me because of the colour correcting properties that I need, because of the purples. I've got a little bit of darkness under the eyes, and then I've got the purples over the eyes. Now this might sound strange, but this eye is the one that absorbs creams the least for some reason. This section here under my eye is so much worse at absorbing creams than this side. So let's see if my bad side will absorb this concealer in exactly the same way. I can already see it's collecting in the lines a little bit, which is standard for this size. Just bizarre, isn't it? I'm going to go in with my N14 brush from Nikki LaRose, the BK Beauty line, and just pat it in, because this is like a sponge brush. It's like a tiny, it's not sponge, but it feels like a sponge on the end of a brush. It's so good for this. So I'm going to pat into this area under the eye that doesn't like concealer. I don't know if you can see on camera, this bit here, I do have a little bit collecting into the lines. It's so weird. This side looks fantastic. It's minuscule, and if I go over it with the brush, it should just go away. So there's how both eyes are looking with the concealer. Definitely works well with the foundation. Now this is definitely way too yellow for me to use as a brightening concealer, and this is LN1, so I don't know if they do fair ones, and I'm just finding here on the Look Fantastic website that they don't sell them. I'm just going to check the YSL site because it does seem quite dark to be the lightest shade. So I've checked the website and they don't go below light, so they don't have fair options. So if you're in neutral, this is the lightest it gets. So I think this is a little bit disappointing from that respect, because there's no way I could use this to brighten. So I'm going to dip into a different concealer, my Beautiful Skin concealer from Charlotte Tilbury in shade 2 Fair. And to show you what I mean, this is the Beautiful Skin in shade 2 Fair, and this is the YSL in light neutral 1. So this is the lightest one that I can buy for my neutral skin. Look how coloured it is. There's just no way this could be used to brighten. So I think it's great for the eyes, but I wouldn't use it for brightening areas of the face. You could use it to conceal things with your foundation, I suppose. But I am finding this whole thing, just looking at my face, I do think, especially where I built it up, as I said earlier, it does look a little bit too warm and yellow. I don't know if that's obvious on the camera, but I like the formula of both quite a lot, but I'm not that pleased with the colour. I don't know if I'd gone for Cool, would that be better? I never buy Cool. I'd love to know if you've tried this and you can tell me what you think. So I've blended out the lighter concealer and a bit of contour, so it's time to try out these finishing powders. So here is the packaging. I've got this squishy, lovely faux leather packaging, like with the bronzer and the eyeshadow palettes. And this is called the All Hours Hyperfinish powder, and this is in Universal 117. This contains 7.5 grams of product and it's £45. And it's got this flip up section here, and it's got a double-sided pad underneath. So you can use that if you want to just put this in your handbag and use it for your top up. And because this one is the universal shade, this is the one I'm going to try under the eyes. So let's look at this eye that's not been set, and now I'm going to set this one. Let's see. And one thing, I've got to be honest, I think that the concealer and foundation have already set down quite well, so I'm not sure they need an awful lot of setting down. They do feel a little bit like they're self-setting, and this powder has exactly the same scent, so you do really need to get to love this scent as much as I do. Now one thing I find is only loose powders seem to work under my eye. If I use pressed powders, they always seem to really emphasise the lines under my eyes, which this has done a little bit. Now it's supposed to blur out imperfections, isn't it? So does it look any better this side? I really don't think it's made much difference under the eye. The only thing it has done is obviously now I've got a much more powdered surface, not cream, so it's locked in my concealer for the day and it will keep it in place. It does look nice, it looks smooth, it feels smooth, and when I go in for eyeshadow application later using powders, it will definitely apply much better because it's given me that perfect surface. So it's nice. It doesn't, I don't think it had much of a brightening effect with it being, I don't want to put too much more because this area doesn't like powder. Anyway, I'll just put a tiny bit, so I don't think it's particularly brightening either. Maybe a tiny bit brightening. I'm going to try it now with my powder puff, which I much prefer. I'm using my Trigwell powder puff, which is what I always use. I've gone into the powder quite heavily. I'm going to tap off now on my wrist. And now do this side. I think it applies just as well actually with the applicator provided. I just prefer the feel of the sponge because it's softer on my skin. With both of them, the lines under my eyes have become more obvious now I've powdered, which is what I really don't want. So for mature skin, I would say, in fact I really don't like the way my under eyes look now. I would say for mature skin, this powder doesn't work very well for under the eye, which is a shame, but that's not to say it won't work all over the face. So I think what I will do is I might powder one side with this fully and we'll use the other powder for the other side. So with exactly the same case, here is shade 01 in this finishing powder. This has exactly the same claims, it's exactly the same powder. I'll just show you if this is giving much of a colour on the back of my hand. No, not much. And for a finishing powder, I wouldn't particularly want an awful lot of colour at all. So I'm just looking now at the 01 bronzer, just in case you want some sort of comparison. So you can see this is the finishing powder here, and this is the 01 bronzer, which is an exceptionally light bronzer. So you can see it is lighter than that, so it's going to be more skin-like and hopefully match my shade quite well. So I'm going to use my powder puff because, as we've seen, I don't think it makes any difference in application which one I use. I think the other one I would just use for when I'm on the go and it's in my bag. So I'm going to use 01 on this side. Now this is the area here where you can see the pores of my face much more obviously. So let's see, when I use Givenchy Prisme Libre here, these just disappear. So let's see what it does. Well, it's definitely blurring them, isn't it? Yeah, that definitely looks better. It's taking down the shine and it is blurring. I'm not sure if it's blurring quite as well though as my Givenchy. So there we have one side of the face fully powdered using 01, apart from under the eye obviously. So you can see the shade is absolutely fine. It's not giving me, I don't want to have really white powder as my setting powder slash finishing powder, because this is a finishing powder, so it might not have quite as much power as a setting powder, since that's what it's called. But yeah, it's taken the shine down nicely and it has blurred this area. My skin feels exceptionally smooth and soft. It's a lovely, lovely formula. It really is like a silky satin feel. Lovely. I'm going to use the universal shade on this side. Now this is something I never do. I tend to always use some sort of coloured powder. And I can see straight away that it is bringing white to my face, which I don't really want because I've used quite a pale foundation as it is. I think I much prefer 01 on my skin straight away because I can see the white there. I just don't want it there. So it depends what you're going for. If you want to go, if you've got very, very fair skin and you just want to basically keep a very light foundation and a very light surface before you go in with your bronzers and your blush, then the universal would work well for you. I mean, it's not giving a lot of colour. I can just see a slight difference. It's very, very hard to know if you can see any of this on camera. This side here is a little bit more white, I think. And this one is a little bit more skin-like. But obviously the blurring powers and the taking down the shine identical, the formula identical, because it's the same product. So my advice would be to go for the coloured one to match your skin tone. So 01 if you're fair, and then start going up. I think there's 5 of them. No, sorry, there's 9 of them, not 5 of them. But if you're my skin tone, I don't think you'd want to go more than 01 because this is a finishing powder, it's not a bronzer, and it's just got that right sort of tone. And I think it's helped with the fact that I think my foundation was a bit yellow. It's sort of given me more of my natural skin colour back. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. And I can keep in mind that finishing powder can be used after you've applied things like blush, just to go around the edges and buff and finish off and give that sort of neat transformation between all the colours so they blend out naturally. So it can be used for that as well. So it's not just for setting, it's for finishing. So now I'm going to finish my base off with the bronzers, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, I bought shades 01 and 02. 01 was my first purchase and it was too light, so I got 02. So you don't need to do what I'm doing now and use both. I think it's absolutely fine to just have 02 if you're a skin match for me. 01 is a little bit too light, but now I've got them both, I actually prefer using the two together. So I'll be starting with 01, my trusty Niji Pro from Sonia G. You can see how this is exceptionally light, but it does give me a little bit of colour, and it gives me a sort of base to start to add shade 2, because instead of having shade 2 completely covering all the areas where I like to have bronzer, I like to have this covering all those areas first, and then I add less of the 02, and the two together work really nicely. And this is gliding beautifully on top of that finishing powder. I can just feel how soft and lovely it is. So I definitely think they work together very nicely. It's blending just so easily and naturally. To be fair, this bronzer does anyway. It's a fantastic bronzer. It's a lovely formula. But you're putting that sort of satin feel, silky feel formula on top of another satin silky feel formula, which is just really, really nice. It feels beautiful. These have all got skincare in them, and they are so soft. I don't think there's anything softer out there than this right now. So that's shade 01 across all my bronzing areas, and now I'm just going to go in with a bit more with shade 2. I'm going to be a bit less generous now with this. Almost applying it like a blush, I suppose, but I will take it up onto my forehead a bit as well. So I'm putting 02 more onto the higher points of the cheekbone, and the sort of blush area, a little dab on the nose. So that's my bronzer applied. And I don't really think this needs changing in any way. I'm just going to go in with my buffer, Sonia G buffer brush, just to buff around the edges, because it just gives me that really smooth finish. Now if my blusher was on and I wanted to smooth the edges, this is where the finishing powder would come in. I could put a little bit on the buffer brush and just buff around the edges to really smooth out the edges of the bronzer. I'm not adding all my blush and highlight now because I've got another video to film, a new product that's just being released, so looking forward to that one. So yes, I'm just put a tiny dab of this finishing powder on the end of my Buffer Pro and just basically buff around the whole of my face. So there we have it, that is my YSL base. And I've got to say, I don't think my skin has ever felt this satin soft. If you could feel this, honest to God, it's just beautiful. But I do feel a little bit like it's powder overload for me. I would probably use a bit less of everything, because having mature skin, too much powder is not awfully flattering by there. Something I would definitely advise if you've used this much powder is to put some sort of face mist on. I've got this one from Delilah, which is just launched. Now this will put moisture back into the skin, which I think is really important, especially after using this much powder, which is so drying on mature skin especially, but on all skin types. And I could not recommend a face mist better than this. It has gone straight to my #1 of all time face mist. It's only recently launched. This is called their Wake Up Radiant Hydrating Skin and Makeup Mist. So you can use this before you start your makeup, during application, in between layers, which is actually a good idea with what I've done today. Maybe I should have done that in between the finishing powder and the bronzer. Would have been a good idea actually. That might have improved the way it finished. But can you see straight away how the dryness I had here just seems to have gone? So it's beautiful, and it's got orange blossom and rose in it as well, so it smells incredible. It's also got hyaluronic acid, so it's just such a healthy thing for your skin, but just beautiful. And if you're interested in this, I will pop a link for you below, and I've got a 22% discount code off Delilah. This face mist, honestly, if you get this, you'll be hooked, because I know I am. So I am pleased with my YSL base all in all. I think it's given me a very full coverage. It's not something I tend to use. I definitely notice the difference between the foundations I've been enjoying, which are more light to medium coverage and more of a serum sort of base really. This is matte, so it's a lot heavier than what I'm used to, and I feel like it looks heavier, but it doesn't feel particularly heavy. So I think this is very good for an evening look, for that real pro look, when you want to have a very good photo in the evening, you want to have that perfect skin finish. The powders give you the perfect sort of blurred out, perfected finish. They blend together incredibly well. They're really easy to work with. Your face just feels, like I said earlier, like smooth as satin. It's just a gorgeous feel to it. So this whole routine I think is perfect. I think this could easily be my #1 choice for a night out if I want to feel like I've got that perfection. And yeah, it's definitely not caking or settling into fine lines at the moment. I'm really happy with the base. I will pop a note for you at the very top and pin it to let you know how this looked in the evening. So whether or not this started to cake up into these areas in particular, which are very bad for me, and just how it wore generally. So I'm going to leave it completely as it is. I will add some blusher in. Like I said, I'm testing out some new releases later today. So I will let you know how everything sat on top and how this lasted throughout the day. So I hope you found this video helpful. I'd love to know if you've got any of these products or whether you're thinking of getting them. Do you use YSL together or do you mix it up with different things? And have you got any tips for me on what works well maybe with the YSL foundation, or shade tips? Because it doesn't look quite so yellow now it's all settled down, and I've used I think the finishing powder did actually get rid of the yellow, didn't it? But yes, any tips from you, I always love to hear them in the comment section down below. So if you've enjoyed this video, I'd really like it ever so much if you could like and subscribe below. That really helps me ever so much. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for returning to my channel. It means the world to me. And I hope to see all of you again for my next video. Take care everybody. Bye.